Well, right now, a new policy has changed the rules for transgender service members. Although the Department of Defense insists that it is not a ban, it does prohibit people from enlisting in the armed forces if they have transitioned from their biological sex to another gender. The policy change triggered outrage across the nation, including in Seattle, where a group gathered to protest today. King 5's Amy Marino has a story from downtown.
And when they push you down, you have to get back up.
It's a rally cry that brought dozens to Westlake Center.
This is about the textbook definition of ignorance. It's lack of understanding.
A change in policy regarding transgender troops triggered fear and frustration, especially among those with ties to the military.
One of the most troublesome things is the roller coaster of policy and the lack of clear policy. That has done more to damage the military than transgender service members ever could.
Trish King transitioned in 2015 and serves in the U.S. Army.
Open transgender service, just like any other minority group, brings a different perspective. It brings a different authenticity, and what it does is it allows for teams to work at a higher efficiency.
There is high-profile support to reverse the policy. Congressman Adam Smith is chairman of the House Armed Services Committee.
It's hard with a president who is so unhinged, okay, who on a day in and day out basis makes up a policy, goes back and forth on it, who has no sort of grounding in the reality of public policy.
He said they'll try to overturn the policy with legislation this summer.
It's all based on ignorance. It's based on people not understanding what it means to be a transgendered person in this country. So we don't want to fight back on that. And then also, from a very practical standpoint, the military is not meeting its recruitment goals right now. If we have able-bodied people who are able to serve, to discriminate against them is just stupid.
We're here to fight the trans military ban.
Lindsay Church served in the Navy during the times of the don't ask, don't tell policy.
I'll tell you that living like that and living in fear and living that you live two lives essentially, that's more disruptive to morale and order and discipline than any person serving authentically as themselves.
They're afraid it would affect morale.
King worries in addition to keeping some out of the military, the policy will lead to increased discrimination for those still serving. She shares her story in the hopes it will change hearts, minds, and ultimately policies.
This is a human rights issue. So it's not about Republican or Democrat. This is simply about having the opportunity to reach people and have them understand that we're the same as they are. But those injunctions and the time that they bought us,
Amy Marino,
additional transgender service members.
King 5 News.